I found out my parents secretly deeded the house I pay for to my lazy sister, so I left them with the bill and walked away for good. My name is Mark, and if I ever had a single shred of doubt about where I stood in my family's hierarchy, it was completely obliterated on a random Tuesday afternoon. It wasn't some dramatic sit-down moment where my parents gathered me around the living room to break the news. No, I found out entirely by accident, by pure, sheer, dumb luck. And let me tell you, that single piece of paper I found completely shattered the illusion that I actually had a family who cared about me. It happened a few months ago when I stopped by their house. And when I say their house, you need to understand the context. For the last 6 years, I have been the one paying the mortgage on that house. I was the one covering the property taxes. I was the one showing up on my weekends to fix the leaky plumbing, mow the lawn, and make sure their pantry was stocked. I am 29 years old, and I have spent almost the entirety of my 20s acting as a walking, talking ATM and handyman for my parents. I sacrificed my own savings, skipped out on vacations, and drove a beat-up car just so my parents could live comfortably in their suburban bubble. And then there's my sister, Chloe. Chloe is 32 years old, and she is the absolute definition of a parasite. While I was working 60-hour weeks in corporate tech to keep our parents afloat, Chloe was busy doing absolutely nothing. And when I say nothing, I mean nothing. She hasn't held down a job for more than 3 months in her entire life. She constantly claims she's finding herself, or working on her mental health, which apparently involved sleeping until noon, maxing out credit cards that my parents pay for, and posting inspirational quotes on Instagram. She is the ultimate golden child. My parents have babied her since the day she was born, constantly making excuses for her laziness while simultaneously demanding excellence and financial support from me. That day, I had driven over to fix a broken cabinet hinge in their kitchen. My dad had complained about it for weeks, but as usual, he couldn't be bothered to buy a $5 screwdriver and fix it himself. While I was looking for a specific wrench in his home office, I opened the bottom drawer of his desk. I wasn't trying to snoop. I was genuinely just looking for tools. But sitting right there, right on top of a stack of old mail, was a thick manila envelope from a local real estate attorney. Now, I usually mind my own business, but seeing a real estate attorney's logo in my dad's desk made my stomach drop. After all, I was the one paying for the very house we were standing in. If there were legal documents involving the property, I figured I had a right to know. So, I pulled the papers out. I stared at the pages, and for a solid minute, my brain physically could not process what I was reading. It was a property transfer deed. My parents had secretly signed over the deed of the house into an irrevocable trust, and the sole beneficiary of that trust? Chloe. There was no mention of me. Not a single clause, not a footnote, not even a percentage. They had taken the house I was paying the mortgage for, and legally guaranteed that the second they passed away, or the second the mortgage was fully paid off, 100% of the equity would go straight to my sister. They were actively using my money to buy Chloe a free house. They knew I would never agree to buy a house for her, so they just hid it from me, letting me drain my bank accounts every month, thinking I was helping my struggling parents, when in reality, I was just funding Chloe's retirement fund. I felt like an absolute idiot. My hands were literally shaking. A massive wave of rage, betrayal, and absolute disgust washed over me. How long had they been planning this? Had I always just been their financial safety net? Did they ever actually love me? Or was I just the useful idiot they birthed so they could afford to spoil their favorite child? I sat in that office for 20 minutes, staring at the wall, listening to my parents watch TV in the living room. They were laughing at some game show, completely unbothered, perfectly content in the life I was buying for them. Eventually, my dad yelled out, "Hey Mark, you get that cabinet fixed yet?" I stood up. I didn't put the papers back. I held the deed in my hand, walked straight out of the office, and stood in front of the TV. I didn't yell, I didn't scream. I just held the papers up and looked my dad dead in the eye. "So, this is how it is?" I asked, my voice dangerously calm. "I pay the mortgage for 6 years? I keep a roof over your heads, and you secretly sign the house over to Chloe?" The color instantly drained from my dad's face. He looked like he had just seen a ghost. My mom gasped and immediately sat up, her eyes darting nervously between me and the paper. "Mark, honey, it's not what you think," my mom stammered, immediately trying to play the innocent victim card. "Really?" I snapped, tossing the thick packet of papers onto the coffee table. "Because it looks pretty damn clear to me. I'm paying thousands of dollars a month to keep you two out of bankruptcy. And you decided behind my back to hand the entire asset over to a 32-year-old woman who refuses to get a job. You used me." My dad puffed out his chest, trying to act authoritative, despite the fact that I financially owned him. "Now, you listen here, Mark. You make 6 figures. You have a great career. Chloe struggled. She needs a safety net. We just wanted to make sure she wasn't left on the streets when we're gone." "A safety net?" I laughed, a bitter, hollow sound. "She doesn't have a safety net because she refuses to work. And your solution to that was to secretly force me to buy a house for her? You planned to just keep cashing my checks every month until the house was paid off, didn't you? You were never going to tell me." My dad looked away, refusing to meet my eyes. That was all the confirmation I needed. He just muttered, "It's complicated. You wouldn't understand." "No, I understand perfectly," I said, taking a step back. I felt completely detached. The love and loyalty I had for these people evaporated in an instant. "I understand that I was never a son to you. I was an ATM, and the ATM is now permanently out of order." "Mark, don't say that," my mom cried out, reaching for my arm. "We love you both equally. We just know you can take care of yourself. Family helps family. Yeah? Well, let's see how much family helps family when the bills come due, I replied. I didn't look back. I walked straight out the front door, got into my car, and drove away. I didn't go home right away. I parked in a grocery store parking lot, pulled out my laptop, and went to work. I logged into my banking portal and immediately canceled the auto draft for their mortgage. Then, I went down the list. I canceled the auto pay for their electric bill. I canceled the auto pay for their water bill. I logged into my Verizon account and completely wiped my parents and Chloe off my phone plan. I even logged into Netflix, Hulu, and Amazon Prime and changed the passwords, forcing all devices to log out. If they wanted to treat me like a disposable wallet, they could experience exactly what life was like without my money. Total, absolute scorched earth. For the first week, there was total silence. I think they honestly believed I was just throwing a tantrum. They thought I would cool down, feel guilty, and turn the money back on. They had spent 29 years conditioning me to feel responsible for their survival, so they genuinely thought I would cave. But then, the first of the month rolled around. My phone buzzed on a Tuesday morning. It was a text from my dad. Dad, hey Mark, the mortgage portal says the payment declined. You need to update your card info. Not an apology. Not a, how are you? Just a cold, transactional command to keep paying for his favorite daughter's future house. I stared at the message, completely amazed by his sheer audacity. I typed back calmly, me. I'm not updating anything. The house belongs to Chloe. Have her pay the mortgage. It took exactly 3 minutes for my mom to start calling. I let it ring. She called twice more. Then the texts started flooding in. Mom, Mark, please stop being dramatic. The bank is going to charge us a late fee. We don't have the cash for this right now. Please just pay it, and we can talk about this like adults. I replied, me. There is nothing to talk about. You made your choice. I am no longer funding your lives. Good luck. For the rest of the day, my phone blew up. But the real entertainment started that evening, when Chloe finally decided to grace me with her presence. The golden child, who had ignored my existence for months unless she needed an Uber Eats gift card, suddenly found her voice. Chloe, dude, what is your problem? Mom is literally crying in the kitchen. Are you seriously throwing a fit over some legal paperwork? Grow up and pay the mortgage. It's not a big deal. I actually laughed out loud at that one. She was 32, unemployed, living rent-free, and telling me to grow up while demanding I pay for a house that was legally hers. The entitlement was sickening. Me. If it's not a big deal, then you pay it. The house is yours. Enjoy the property taxes, homeowner's insurance, and the $2,400 monthly payment. Let me know how that works out on a $0 income. Chloe, you know I don't have a job right now. My anxiety is really bad. I can't handle stress. You make enough money to cover this. You're just being a selfish prick because you're jealous. Mom and Dad actually care about my future. Me. I'm not jealous. I'm free. Have fun being an adult, Chloe. I muted her notifications. The next few weeks were a relentless barrage of manipulation attempts. My mom tried the guilt trip approach, sending me long paragraphs about how they changed my diapers and sacrificed everything for me. My dad tried the angry, authoritative approach, leaving voicemails calling me ungrateful and demanding respect. But the best part was watching them slowly realize that I wasn't bluffing. The bills were piling up, and without my massive cash influx every month, their lifestyle was rapidly collapsing. I thought simply ignoring them would be the end of it. But entitled people never go down quietly. About a month after the cutoff, I was sitting at my desk at the office. I work in a fairly nice corporate building downtown, with security at the front desk. My desk phone rang, and the receptionist sounded incredibly uncomfortable. Hey Mark, there are 3 people down here in the lobby claiming to be your parents and your sister. They are being incredibly loud and demanding that you come down. Security is asking if you want us to escort them out. My blood boiled. They had the nerve to show up at my place of work. They wanted to ambush me, embarrass me in front of my coworkers, and force me to submit. I'll be right down, I said, my voice ice cold. I took the elevator down to the lobby, and there they were. The unholy trinity of financial drain. My mom had her arms crossed, looking incredibly smug, like she had just checkmated me. My dad looked angry, and Chloe was standing there rolling her eyes, staring at her phone. The moment the elevator doors opened and I stepped out, my mom loudly announced, "Well, look who finally decided to show up. You've been ignoring your family, Mark. We have bills due." A few people in the lobby turned to look. She was trying to publicly shame me. She thought I would cower to avoid a scene. She thought wrong. "Why are you here?" I demanded, walking right up to them, closing the distance so I was towering over my dad. "You cut off our phones!" Dad snapped, pointing a finger at my chest. "You canceled the mortgage auto pay. We got a final notice for the electricity. You need to fix this right now, Mark." "I am not playing games with you." "I'm not playing games either," I replied, projecting my voice so the entire lobby could hear perfectly. "I paid your mortgage for 6 years. I gave you over $150,000 of my hard-earned money. And in return, You secretly went behind my back and signed the deed of the house over to Chloe. You committed financial fraud against your own son to buy a house for a 32-year-old freeloader. Chloe's head snapped up from her phone. Shut up, Mark! Don't call me that! Get a job, Chloe. I shot back, not breaking eye contact with her. You want to be a homeowner? Start acting like one. Mortgages aren't paid with anxiety excuses and Instagram likes. My mom looked panicked. This wasn't going the way she planned. The receptionist and the security guard were openly staring now. Mark, lower your voice, she hissed. This is family business. You are humiliating us. No, you humiliated yourselves the second you showed up at my job demanding a handout, I said, stepping back. I am absolutely done with you. I am not giving you another dime. If you can't afford the house, sell it. If you can't afford the electric bill, sit in the dark. But do not ever show up at my workplace again. If you do, I will have security physically remove you, and I will file a restraining order. I turned to the security guard. They're not allowed in this building. If they come back, call the police. I didn't wait for their response. I turned around, walked back to the elevator, and went back to work. My hands were shaking, but not from fear. It was pure, unadulterated adrenaline. For the first time in my entire life, I had stood up for myself. I had completely broken their power over me. But of course, a narcissist's favorite weapon is playing the victim. Since their real-life ambush failed miserably, they decided to take the battle to the internet. Less than 24 hours later, my phone started pinging with messages from cousins and old family friends. My parents had gone absolutely nuclear on Facebook. They didn't just make a post. They launched a full-scale smear campaign. My mom posted a long, tearjerker status. It breaks a mother's heart when the child she sacrificed everything for turns his back on his family. We gave our son everything, and in our golden years, when we needed him the most, he chose greed and selfishness over love, praying he finds his way back to God and realizes that family is the only thing that truly matters. Then Dad shared it, adding, raised a son, but clearly didn't raise a man. A real man takes care of his parents. Disgusted and heartbroken by Mark's total abandonment of his responsibility. And Chloe, because she couldn't resist the attention, chimed in with her own post. So sad seeing my parents cry, because my brother decided money was more important than the people who wiped his tears. Real family doesn't cut you off when things get hard. Holding my parents tight tonight. The comments were infuriating. Aunts and uncles who hadn't spoken to me in a decade were commenting things like, so sorry you are going through this. Kids these days have no respect, and Mark needs a reality check. They were controlling the narrative. They were painting me as a greedy, ungrateful monster who just abandoned his sweet, innocent family for no reason. I took a deep breath. I made a cup of coffee. I sat down at my laptop. I decided that if they wanted to air dirty laundry in public, I was going to bring the entire laundry. I opened my Facebook. I didn't write an emotional, crying post. I wrote a receipt-backed, completely factual demolition of their lies. I tagged my mom, my dad, and Chloe. I set the post to public, and I typed exactly this. Since my parents and sister have decided to publicly accuse me of abandoning them out of greed, I think it's only fair that everyone gets the full story. For the past 6 years, I have fully financially supported my parents. I have paid their mortgage, their property taxes, their utilities, and their car insurance. I have sacrificed over $150,000 of my own income to ensure they lived comfortably. Last Tuesday, I discovered that my parents secretly hired a lawyer and transferred the deed of the house, the very house I pay the mortgage for, into an irrevocable trust solely in the name of my 2-year-old sister, Chloe, who refuses to work. There was no mention of me. They intended to let me continue paying the mortgage for the next 20 years, entirely funding a free house for my sister behind my back. When I confronted them about this blatant financial abuse and betrayal, they told me that Chloe needs a safety net, and I make too much money to complain. So yeah, I stopped paying their bill. I stopped being their personal ATM. I am not a backup plan, and I will not be manipulated into buying a house for a grown woman who won't get a job. If choosing not to be financially exploited by my own parents makes me greedy, then I wear that badge with honor. To the extended family members commenting on their post, if family is so important, feel free to step up and pay their $2,400 monthly mortgage. They need the cash. I am officially retired from the role. I hit post. The fallout was biblical. Within minutes, my phone started exploding. The same aunts and uncles who had been bashing me were suddenly backpedaling at light speed. An aunt commented on my post, wait, they put the house in Chloe's name while you were paying for it? What the hell? One of my dad's brothers commented, David, tell me this isn't true. My parents frantically tried to delete their post, but the internet is forever. Several family members screenshotted everything. The public humiliation they tried to inflict on me completely backfired and blew up in their own faces. Their pristine image of the perfect, sacrificial parents was shattered. Everyone now knew exactly what they had done. They knew that my parents were financial abusers, and they knew Chloe was a leech. My dad tried to call me 14 times in the span of an hour. He left voicemails screaming that I had ruined their reputation and destroyed the family. Chloe sent me a text, calling me a psychopath. I didn't answer. I didn't argue. I didn't feel the need to defend myself anymore. I simply went into my phone settings, blocked my mom, blocked my dad, and blocked Chloe. Then, I blocked every single family member who had taken their side without asking for the facts. It has been 4 months since I walked away, and my life has never been better. I heard, through the grapevine, aka an aunt, who actually apologized to me that things are not going well for them. Without my income, they completely depleted their meager savings in less than 2 months. They had to put the house on the market because they couldn't afford the mortgage payments, which means Chloe is losing her precious safety net. My dad had to come out of early retirement and get a job at a hardware store. And my mom has been aggressively harassing extended family members for loans, which everyone is refusing to give them after reading my post. And Chloe? She finally had to get a job. She's working the register at a local pharmacy, complaining to anyone who will listen about how unfair her life is. As for me, I am thriving. Without the massive financial drain of paying for 2 households, my savings account is exploding. I just booked a 3-week vacation to Japan, something I could never have afforded while I was funding their lifestyle. I sleep a full 8 hours every night. I don't dread my phone ringing. I don't feel the crushing weight of anxiety constantly pressing down on my chest. For 29 years, I let my family treat me like an afterthought. I let them use me, manipulate me, and drain me dry. But the moment I stopped looking for their love and started demanding their respect, everything changed. So no, I don't feel a single ounce of guilt. I am finally living my life for myself, and I am never looking back.